Hey, how you doing, folks? That we just heard was from the controversial movie, which I'm gonna talk about right now. The Game of Death from 1978. Now, the score you just heard right now, that's the opening theme by John Barry, who unfortunately is no longer with us. Did a good job with this score, very good, right? Now, what happened was Game of Death originally was supposed to be the Bruce film that Bruce was gonna follow up right after, of course, working and finishing with Way of the Dragon, Return of the Dragon, and he begins penning the screenplay and start filming uh, the 40 minutes, which was the footage that we had pretty much. It was all seen of the climax of the film and stuff. And for years, up until I guess the year 2000, that's how long it's been. From 73, you could say, to 2000. That's a lot of years, pretty much. I don't know the exact number right there. I don't have a calculator in front of me. But that's a long time. So there was not much going on what the full plot of the movie was. And on the rest of the footage. Because all I know is that what had happened was Enter Dragon, of course, you know, grossed big. I mean, finally, America knew who Bruce Lee was now. And of course, when they re-released in the States, his Hong Kong films, they made a lot of money as well. And you had, of course, something which I'm going to tap onto more in the next video, last video you're going to see on Bruce Lee, pretty much. They call it Bruce exploitation movies and stuff, where you had a guy who I always refer to him as Bruce Lie, even though it's not really pronounced Lie, it's Lee, L-I, but still, I call him Bruce Lie, and I'll explain more in that next video you're going to see, which I talk about the whole thing, about DVDs in the States not getting the respect they deserve, and, the whole thing of, the conspiracy of a little bit of, and the he say, she say stuff about how Bruce was taken from us and everything like that. And, my final thoughts on this man, pretty much. But this video is about this controversial film, pretty much. I'm going to get to why it's controversial, which a lot of you guys pretty much know. I know there are very good friends of mine that hate this film. I know Matt hates this film, right? On IMDb, out of all the Bruce Lee films, this one got the lowest mark. It got 5.7. Yes, I know it's too high, but it's 5.7. That's what it says on IMDb. Okay, it's a mixed bag on the user reviews, pretty much. Some people they say it's so bad it's good. Some people say it's an insult to the man's memory. There was a very good quote on there. I'm gonna read what the quote says, because I think I memorized it. Game of Death is basically 40 minutes of Bruce Lee. After the 40 minutes there, the rest of it is junk. You know who said that quote, guys? Brandon Lee. I guess it was a quote that was from a magazine interview or something, I guess. But somebody had asked him about I guess, about his father's movies or something like that. I guess Game of Death came up, and he was very adamant, and he gave his statement on it. That's exactly what Brandon Lee said. It was 40 minutes of Bruce Lee, and the rest of it is junk. That's what he felt about it. Now, Bruce was going to write, direct, and I think of course star in the film and handle cinematography. So this was gonna be because he was a perfectionist. You seen the work he did with Return of the Dragon, so he really wanted to really be in depth and to give the whole thing, and that whole thing about the philosophy of the fighting and to tell a good story and stuff. So pretty much the 40 minutes of footage was basically outtakes and stuff because it would take a long time to film one fight scene. Take a couple of days or whatever. And he was amongst friends. I think one of the people he fights in that film was Donnie Inosanto, which was Bruce Lee's pupil, along with many others. I believe when Bruce Lee was left us, he ended up with some of Bruce Lee's schools, Chin Kun Do schools and stuff. I know it wasn't easy. I know seeing interviews with Danny Santos. Seemed like a very nice guy. I mean, it wasn't easy for him to take on the mantle of teaching Bruce's philosophy and stuff. But he did it. And, he did pretty good with it. I think now he's doing his own thing now and stuff, which that's cool. So yeah, I think Danny Santos was actually the man who helped train Brandon Lee when he was an adult and he was starting to get into the films and stuff. Danny Santos helped him out with that, get him back in training again. So what happened was he got that offer to do Enter the Dragon, so he suspended production on Game of Death to do Enter the Dragon. Enter the Dragon, of course, like I said before, he did a lot of work on and stuff, and the man was very exhausted. And he had originally intentionally to after Enter the Dragon was finished to go back and finish shooting Game of Death and stuff and to complete that film. But fortunately, he was taken from us and everything. So Bruce Lee movies in the States were making a lot of money. So it was a kind of a double-edged sword because fans kept on hearing stories about the missing footage of Game of Death, missing footage of Game of Death. And of course, Robert Klaus heard this, and so did Raymond Chow and everybody. He's sort of to blame too, Raymond Chow. You can't. Everybody blames Robert Klaus. You gotta blame Raymond Chow too, because he was the producer. He's the man with the money. So you gotta give both blame to both. Unfortunately, I mean everybody usually blames Robert Klaus, but you can't blame one man. You gotta blame two people for this and stuff. So Raymond Chow has to take some blame as well. So they got a hold of a little bit of the footage and they cut out what they could cut to try to see if they could put it into a movie. And they got a writer. I want to see who the writer was behind this movie, Game of Death. Okay. Let me see. I want to look at the writers. Well, Robert Klaus came on as a writer. And let's see. Well, Sammo Hung had a small part in the film. He came on as a sort of a fight choreographer. But what happened was Robert Klaus, when he wrote the film, he didn't use his real name. He used an alias, Jan Spears, but it was Robert Klaus and stuff because he knew there was going to be a shitstorm when there really was, and there was one pretty much. You had about two two actors playing the character that's in this film, Billy Lowe, who's supposed to be Bruce and stuff. You have Tai Ching Kim and Bayu Yo Yen. Let's see. Fortunately, Tai Ching Kim, who's a Korean actor, he passed away sometime last year. He was 54 years old. He was also played Bruce Lee in No Retreat, No Surrender. So you can remember him for that. And I think he had a part in the Bruce exploitation sequel, I guess, to this movie, Game of Death 2, which came out in '81. Some of you might be wondering if I'm gonna cover the Bruce exploitation movies. No, not really. Cause it'd just be too long in the two for you to go into that and stuff. Plus, I wasn't really a big fan of those films, to be honest. And of course, big surprise, I don't mind this film. People will say, but you mind this film, why you don't mind those other ones? Okay, because basically, I'll go into the plot of the film pretty much, right? You have a character, Billy Lowe, right, who's, of course, a martial arts star, like Bruce. And he's being squeezed by this syndicate to sign on with them, and they'll give him money, give him this, give him that, but just heard a lot of bad things about those people. If you don't sign on to them, you get killed or whatever, and everything like that. So pretty much the leader of this syndicate is Dean Jagger, who you guys might remember him. He was in that movie Alligator and stuff. Fortunately, he's no longer with us. And his right hand man Steiner, played by Hugh O'Brian. Yeah, Mel Novak plays Stick. And of course, Danny Inosanto, to match the little bit of the footage they had, because he shows up in Game of Death in that footage of that fight with Bruce and everything. So he worked a little bit on the film, a little bit in the beginning, so they can match it together, I guess. Sammo Hung comes on pretty much because he's one of these fighters that. You have Robert Wall in this film as well. Plays Carl Miller and everything. He's with the syndicate. So he has a little fight with Sammo Hung in the middle of the film somewhere. And what happens is he has a friend who's a reporter, and he has an American girlfriend, Anne Morris, played by Colleen Champ. I thought she did a decent job for what she had to do. It wasn't her fault. The script had a lot of problems, but she did a decent job. I like Colleen Champ. I know I'm probably one of the very few people on planet Earth, believe it or not, that grew up with Smokey and the Bandit 3. Yes, I saw that one first, and that was the one that was given constantly on cable. I've seen the first Smokey and the Bandit. I enjoy it. Fun, classic film. The second film, I have a lot of problems with. Maybe I gotta give it another shot someday. But I don't mind Colleen Champ. I know she hasn't gone on to do much, really. Let's see. I know the last thing I seen her in was in she was in that movie Dead and Deader, which I got pissed off they killed her character off. And well, she had a small part in Apocalypse Now. She was in Wayne's World, small part in Wayne's World. That's why she was in Die Hard with a Vengeance. She was that female cop that was with Graham Greene, I believe. She was a lot of fun in that. Let's see. She hasn't done much. She did some movie called Psych 9. Let's see. She did an episode of House MD. Well, she's still working. She's doing some kind of TV series called Waffle Hut. Whatever. Oh well. Anyway. and stuff. But you know, I never had a problem with Colleen Chan. She basically plays she's a singer basically. She sings the end title song of the film, which I liked it. The one song that pops up, the song "Will This Be the Song I'll Be." I liked it, the song. I thought it was a sweet song with John Barry, you know, providing the the score to the song while she does the vocals. Very good singing voice. You have her there, and the reporter guy who's a friend of Billy Lowe. And you get little stuff there where he's always wearing the glasses, obviously. So he's about to go film this movie. They, of course, you know, art that will imitate life. Tragic enough, sad to say. He's on a movie set. A prop gun supposed to be filled with a blank. It's filled with a bullet. He gets shot in the face. So he fakes his death. He lives through it. He gets facial reconstruction, or at least gets a scar. We don't see that much of it. His woman, along with the rest of the world, think he's dead, and she falls to pieces, of course, and pretty much knows that, of course, Dean Jagger and the people in Syndicate, he goes by the name the Doctor. She wants to kill them, but Billy has his own agenda to deal with these people and starts taking these people out one by one. Okay, decent fights, choreography, okay, cameras in one spot. Okay, so it leads to the climax where you get the 40 minutes of the footage. And, alright, you get that little bit of footage there. Good score. The movie's runtime is not that long. I know there's a lot of cuts of this film, believe it or not. See, the runtime film is 85 minutes. Right? Now this is what gets very interesting. In Germany, you have a 92-minute cut. In Hong Kong, there was the original premiere. It was 103 minutes. Then, after the original premiere, they released it 125 minutes. Then, of course, you got the existing footage. That's 54 minutes. That complete footage. That was in Hong Kong. In Japan, you have a 115-minute cut. Then, I guess, there was a Japanese 40-minute. This was a 2000 incomplete version. That's 40-minute. USA, 100-minute cut. Then it was a USA 110-minute original premiere. And then you have the USA 35-minute 2000 incomplete version. So I guess they've added all that pretty much to maybe the restored missing footage that was on that documentary. That's why I really enjoy that documentary a lot, because you get to see the movie Bruce intended us to see, and it's good condition. It's Bruce's voice and everything, and it's like watching the movie all over again, you know, seeing it like that. So all these cuts of the film, right? So that's pretty much the film. I know I jumped toward it. Now, why I cannot yell about this film? All right, I'll explain. For one, the movie we got here, right? How can I say this? It lends itself to a great idea. Maybe that's why I don't mind it that much. Because I always wanted to see a movie where, for some reason or another, you have an action guy, like a movie star or something, right? And maybe some mob or some people try to shake him down for money. He doesn't want to give in. And maybe they wrong him in a way, or they try to kill him, or they kill his woman or his family, something like that. And he uses his skills, because you could say maybe, if you don't want to make him an action guy, you could say maybe he's a stunt coordinator guy, or a guy who's a choreographer and stuff. Someone that he would use his traits as weapons to get revenge. So I always loved that idea, and I wanted to see that idea in a movie again. The only one movie I seen that it wasn't really as big as this film or whatever, but there was a movie with Cole Hauser I remember seeing years back. It was a movie that kind of came and went, called Paparazzi, which I enjoyed. and stuff. Sad that movie came and went. I thought Cole Hauser did a good job as the lead. Tom Sizemore as the bad guy of the film and stuff, which was almost like that same idea. You had the celebrity guy being hounded by paparazzi people who get him into an accident with his wife and they take pictures and stuff. And he uses his own way to get revenge and stuff. He does it very cleverly and stuff. I like the way he does the mindfuck game and stuff. Very well done. That's a movie you guys should look up. Well, one day I'll talk about that on Paparazzi. You know, and I always want to see a movie like that done. You know, like for some reason or another, I always saw like maybe Van Damme doing a movie like that, but then he'd probably be stone faced and fuck it up or something. Maybe Jeff Speakman, I don't know. Maybe be in a movie that he's a choreographer or something. So I like the idea. The idea is good. The little action scenes, the fight scenes are well done. You know, well choreographed. Okay. You know, those are the positives. I grew up with the film. Maybe that's why I don't mind it that much. I mean, is it hard? Is it for me to call it a Bruce Lee film? It's kind of hard not to call it. It's kind of hard to call it a Bruce Lee film because the Bruce Lee you do see is basically archive footage from his other films. You know, so then we get that's the good stuff. Okay, I like the idea. I don't mind the pacing. The fight scenes are well handled. Okay. That's the good. Now the bad is that you have very lousy, maybe because what they had back then, maybe bad cutouts, which they do. Like they take scenes and they like put Bruce Lee's face on another actor, which looks very bad. Or like I said, they steal footage from the other films to make it look like a reaction of Bruce or whatever. Or because you got two actors basically playing this character, you know, one guy who's with the glasses gives dialogue, and the other guy who does all the fights, pretty much. Um, let's see, anything else? I didn't like the way they actually used archive footage of Bruce's funeral. I thought that was in bad taste. I don't think you needed that, to be honest. Um, Other stuff that I found about the film. Uh, let's see. Uh, the villains could have been a lot better, maybe. You know, because I mean, people could say that they made this film to try to cash in. Okay, granted. Or maybe because they kind of felt, okay, these fans wanted to see this 40 minutes of footage. But the problem is, it was just that climax. There was really no story, not that much story. There was not too much we knew about it. We only knew a little bit here, a little bit there. You know, a little bit, okay, well, it takes place in a pagoda, pretty much. And because we would end up finding out the real story of what the Game of Death plot will be in 2000, pretty much, thanks to John Little, the guy who did that documentary, Bruce Lee Warrior's Journey, which I feel like watching again. I don't know if I'll review that one, to be honest, but you know, I remember it being a very good documentary. Because basically what the plot was Bruce Lee's character, it was going to take place in Korea. And Bruce Lee's character was this, I guess, this fighter who had left competing and stuff like that. And he had a sister and a little brother. And I guess this mafia or this syndicate wanted Bruce's character, who plays his character's name was Hai Chen, to participate on this raid on this big pagoda, pretty much. And each level, in the front of the pagoda, you have a bunch of karate fighters right there and stuff like that. And you had to get through that. I think originally it would be like 6 guys, but they didn't know who to cast for the 3 guys. So originally, the original cast they had so far was James Tien and this other guy, I think, who was like a Hong Kong stuntman who's worked with Bruce many times before, who would have to make it up to each level of the pagoda. Now, each level of the pagoda was guarded by each practitioner of certain martial arts styles. And one floor, you had a guy who was in the style. He had the style of the praying mantis. Another pagoda, you had a guy who studied jiu-jitsu. Another pagoda. Then when you get up to one of the upper pagodas there, you get Danny Inosanto, who his fighting style is the Yeshima Master, Filipino martial arts. Right. Then after him, you get the I guess is Aikido, pretty much. Yeah, Aikido Grand Master, I guess, was there. And then from there, after him, then you get the top of the pagoda, where you have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who I guess is the unknown form martial arts. What you basically find out is Jeet Kune Do, because he's trained, he's trained with Bruce for a long time and stuff. So Bruce wanted to put him in movie. Plus, it'd be a good idea him facing a real tall villain, which I liked that. I mean, that's probably one of my favorite end fights that Bruce has done. I mean, next to his end fight with the boss and the big boss, and his end fight with Chuck Norris, of course. It was like a giant of a man, And Bruce had a little more dialogue and that missing footage and stuff. And it would have been a great film. I mean, I wish somebody would take. It's basically, if you think about it, like I was talking to Matt about this the other night, it's kind of a precursor of what the Raid would be, and what Dredd, of course, probably might be. Who knows? Well, probably is what they say Dredd is. You have a hero who's going into a tall building. You can say the pagoda is kind of like a building, like the Raid, and you got to get through each levels of the floor to get to the bad guy or whatever and stuff. But in this case, I think the reason they want Bruce to make it up to that way, and if he don't do it, his sister and his little brother are going to be killed. So he has no choice but to do it. And I guess they could go up there and you can get to the top of the pagoda and get some kind of jade or some kind of money or something like that or whatever. So it's kind of because of what the Raid is. I mean, the Raid is the same type of story where you had a guy working his way up the building to get the bad guy. Same thing with the new Dredd movie is gonna be that. But Dredd got 200 floors, to get to Lena Headey and fuck her up or whatever, and stuff. But it's kind of a precursor to that. I wish somebody could take that idea of the story and do something with it. I mean, with like a martial arts style. Because I think about Donnie Yen has done stuff for Bruce Lee movies, and his movies get praise. I mean, he did a remake of Big Boss, which became its own film. He did, of course, his take on Fist of Fury, which that became a newer movie, Legend of the Fist, and stuff. I like to see him tackle on Game of Death. Or if not, he'll do the story they got now. I mean, or the story that's on this movie here, and stuff. The whole thing, a martial arts guy who fakes his death to take on revenge on the underworld, the mob or whatever, syndicate or whatever, kick ass and take names. It's a good idea. But I gotta watch this film as a time waster. I love that score by John Barry. You guys just heard. Overseas, this film, along with all the other Hong Kong Bruce Lee movies, got great DVDs, immaculate features, I would say, from what I read up. And there's actually, I think, an interesting one on this movie, which I would like to watch. Because I want to hear, because I know a lot of people behind this film, like Sammo Hung, okay, the trivia on the film is that, I mean, was it an original idea that Bruce had? Well, I think in 1969, there was a swordplay epic called Bayou Biu, aka Half Sword Will Travel. It was written by a resident Shaw brother, screenwriter King Yan, which was almost that same type of idea. I guess a person got to work his way up a building or a big area to get to the bad guy, I guess, and stuff. And on the trivia over here, let's see. Okay. Here's an interesting one over here. It was very sad, though. Former 007, George Lazenby, who he replaced Sean Connery, and Sean Connery decided he wasn't going to come back for 007. And he did his Bond film, and his Bond film caught a lot of flack and stuff. It's kind of like, I mean, George Lazenby for the 007s, James Bonds, between him, Timothy Dalton, and of course Daniel Craig, those Bonds catch a lot of flack. You know, I mean, Timothy Dalton sort of, not as much as Daniel Craig. So I know Daniel Craig caught death threats. That's how bad it was. But George Lazenby, you know, granted I haven't seen a lot of stuff he's been in. You know, maybe feel sorry for the guy. But he was supposed to meet Bruce Lee to be in his Game of Death movie, but he was supposed to meet him on July 20th, but that was the day Bruce was taken from us. And for other reasons, Lazenby was not involved in the final project that was directed by Robert Klaus. And the role of Steiner, that one of the bad guys in the film, was offered to Chuck Norris, but Chuck Norris turned it down. And interesting enough, Chuck Norris threatened legal action against Golden Harvest for giving him screen credit for this film. Norris' appearance in the film is, of course, archive footage from Return of the Dragon. Because, you know, I heard a very good interview recently that was actually an audio interview from 1976 at a Comic-Con, which I didn't know the Comic-Con was around during the 70s. Wow, it's that long. Shit. I thought the Comic-Con came out toward the 90s and stuff. Wow, I didn't know they were around that long. And he was about to do a demonstration. He gave a good speech of how he met Bruce and everything like that. And he gave his feelings of how Bruce was taken from us and stuff. You know, what the real reasons were, which I'll tap on in the next video. So Chuck Norris was good friends with Bruce Lee. I guess he didn't want to be involved in this film. The guy who would do a lot of the Bruceploitation films, Bruce Lee, Ho Ching Tao, was offered the role to be Bruce Lee's stand-in, but declined because he said it was disrespectful to Lee and it was his movie. Well, I don't know. I can't really. I mean, I've seen an interview with the man. He seemed like a decent guy, but the movies he did, to me, I can't deal with those films because I would call them probably a C minus movies, to be honest. But there's no cutouts of Bruce Lee in those movies. I know that. I know there's no cutouts of Bruce Lee in those films. I understand that. I'm not praising that they put cutouts of Bruce Lee in this film. I'm not doing that. You know, and I know people are not taking. I hope people are not taking offense to that. No, just man, just, you know, so you understand why. I don't know. Maybe I can't hate this film. I really can't. Maybe because part of me wants to believe that they wanted to try to give us a Bruce Lee film. I remember when T4 came out, right, and they did that whole thing with how they got the Arnold likeness and stuff with Roland, and with the effects with the face of Arnold and stuff, which that's pretty good the way they did that. Like people were saying they should revamp or redo something with this to remaster Bruce's face on the stand-ins and stuff, but they didn't do that because this movie, you know, it's catched a lot of flack over the years. That's not gonna help anything and stuff. But my thing is, see, this is a movie I wouldn't mind seeing remade. But the one man, I would say the two men I think who could remake this film, who I trust, who could probably do an adequate job compared to this, is Mark Dacascos. I think he could pull it off, playing a character like that, or he's this action guy or martial arts guy or something. And he has to fake his death in order to get the bad guys and stuff. And maybe you can have a climax with him going into a pagoda, or hell, go with the original idea, him being forced to participate in this thing till he goes up the pagoda and fuck up these people. You could do that. Maybe throw his own edge into it. I don't know. Or Donnie Yen, that's the other guy. Donnie Yen has done Bruce Lee's material before, and his movies have met with praise. You know, with that Fist of Fury TV series he did in Hong Kong, and plus that new movie, Legend of the Fist, which I haven't seen yet. and stuff. I heard good things about it and stuff. And I know he directed. They say it's a remake of Big Boss, but it seemed like its own movie though. One day I reviewed that one. I'll talk about it. I do own that one. I think it goes by another title called Legend of the Wolf or something. Which I don't know. It's kind of seemed like its own movie, but one day I'll touch on that film and stuff. You know, maybe that's a movie that lends itself out to do it. Maybe to improve upon it. I don't know. You know, stuff like that. Because they always do a lot of stuff with Chinese connection, Chinese connection, Chinese connection, Shenzhen, 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 Shenzhen. This is a movie I actually think lends itself out to be remade. Granted, Chinese connection has a lot of problems, like the thing with the pacing and the disguises, which this movie has that similar problem with the little bit of disguises that Billy Lowe wears, which don't look that convincing, though, and stuff. And I don't know what they're really going to this film. Let's see. Well, not much on the trivia there. I'm sorry, just looking right there. I know it's not really much of a review. It'll probably be a 40-minute review. It's not much to talk about the film. What I like about the film is the film flawless? No. Does it have good fight scenes? You know, some decent action? Yes. I don't mind that. The guys they got to double for stand-in for Bruce Lee, they were not that bad. I mean, you had the one guy doing a little bit of the acting, and the other guy doing all the physical fighting. All right. I think one of the guys who did the acting actually passed away sometime last year, I guess. I don't know if the other guy doing the fighting is still running around, but Colleen Champ was decent as the female lead. Robert Wall is there. He plays Carl Miller, one of the bad guys who's a fighter, and he has his little bullshit fight with Sammo Hung, which Sammo Hung loses, which I don't buy, but it's in the script. I know Sammo Hung actually did it because let me see, I know something. Yeah, he almost didn't appear in the film after being asked personally by Bruce Lee to be part of the film. Hung waited for 8 months without follow-up and eventually went to film projects in Korea and Thailand, only flying back on to the set in China when promised that it would only take a couple of days to film his part, which he's not in the film that much. He's in that little ring fight with Robert Wall, and Robert Wall kicks his ass. Granted, Sammo Hung has decent little fights right there with him, but you don't buy that Bob Wall could kick Sammo Hung's ass. I mean, come on, Sammo Hung's a good martial artist, man, for a big guy and stuff. Yeah, so he showed up there for that. Maybe he was gonna be in the original Game of Death film and stuff. But all in all, I was entertained by the film, just despite the bad cutouts of Bruce Lee, which I didn't like. Some of the stuff there, like they do like these they show archive footage of Bruce and they add, you know, dialect in there that make no sense. Like the zoom in part, like when he goes dragging with his tail, he goes, "You lose, Carmela." He's very like out of place, but you know, it has a charm to it. I don't know and stuff. I know some people will be like, but you guys are a Bruce Lee fan. Be like, I can't think of it as a Bruce Lee film because Bruce is not in this film. It's archive footage. As a film on its own, it's watchable on its own. Now, The Warrior's Journey, the documentary, which you see that complete Game of Death footage, that's more Bruce Lee's movie. About him going into the pagoda to fuck up each of these people. He has two other guys with him. One of them is James Tien, which they throw a little bit of his fight with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the finished film, but it's not much. Sometimes you see little fuck ups in the editing because they try to cut. You don't know if you haven't seen the documentary, which they show the complete footage. You would never notice, but since I seen that documentary, then I revisit the film again. I notice it. Like right before he goes up the stairs to go to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you see a guy laying on the floor That's actually supposed to be that one of the guys who ran up the steps and got thrown down. Ah! And stuff with the stuntman guy. And then when you go up there, you see in the corner there someone laying on the floor, and you realize it's James Tien, pretty much. And you know, Bruce Lee versus Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and stuff. They had a little extra more dialogue, but didn't make it into the '78 film, of course. But it's a time waster of a film. It's not perfect. It's not immaculate. Do I feel the film shouldn't have been made? Yes, they should have just left it alone. But what's done is done. I'm curious to learn about the behind the scenes more of the film, because overseas they gave this a good DVD with a shitload of features and stuff and interviews and everything. I think even interviews with Robert Wall as well. So that's one guy you want to hear some stories about, because he worked with Bruce for years and stuff, especially since Bruce Lee actually hurt him very badly in Enter the Dragon and stuff, because he gets fucked up with the glass bottle and stuff and like that. So be interesting to hear this guy's story or whatever, and you know, hear about a little bit behind the scenes. You know how this movie, you know, caught flack by a lot of films and stuff, by a lot of the fans of the film and stuff. Some people say it was a crude joke on the memory of Bruce Lee and everything like that. You know, but like I said before, if there was a list of films I wouldn't mind seeing remade, this would be one of them. Because basically like that same idea the Raid would take. If you think about it, like I've said before, one man going to a building, top of the building is your bad guy. And got to work his way up the building or to each level or whatever to kick some ass. You know, or what the new Dread film was going to be. It was 200-story skyscraper with shootouts and R-rated gory. Probably CGI, but who knows? I hope it delivers, though. If not, it's going to get ripped to shreds by my fucking claws and stuff. But, you know, that was whatever they had left of the film, and we got it whether we wanted the film or not. You know, I grew up with the film. I could watch it. Granted, I don't watch it as much as I watch Way of the Dragon, or as I watch Fist of Fury, Big Boss, as I watch Chinese Connection. Like if someone was telling me, what do you want to watch tonight? You want to watch Enter the Dragon? You want to watch Game of Death? I'll say Enter the Dragon. That was the first Bruce Lee movie I was introduced to. That was the one that got the most airtime out of all the Bruce Lee films on TV, on cable, and everything and stuff. I still enjoy it. I gave it a good score. Remember the review I did yesterday of it. But this film, I don't know, maybe it is a guilty pleasure. I admitted it. I'm guilty of it. But I understand, like I said in the beginning of the video, I understand why people hate this film. I really do. I understand it. You know, I understand the fact that, okay, you have bad cutouts they put on another actor's face of Bruce Lee, which looked very bad. Okay, I understand the acting by the side people. Besides, Colin Champ, I didn't mind. You know, a lot of people don't like Colin Champ. Well, take it or leave it, then that's the case. But I didn't mind it. That's just me. You know, but everybody else, you know, Robert Wall just did pick up a check pretty much. You know, Sammo Hung just showed up there, just getting knocked out by Bob Wall. Dean Jagger, he's chewing up the scenery. Guy who plays Steiny Hugh O'Brien, and Mel Novak, the guy who plays the guy who shoots Billy Lowe in the face. You know, they're just asshole number one, asshole number two. Take them or leave them. You know, that's it. Good score by John Barry. I like the score. The good the theme of the entrance of the movie. I like the intro of the film with the Bruce Lee footage and thing with the editing, with shows casinos and cards. Very classy. Like, you know, look nice in a movie theater, I can imagine. See, it gives like a 007 vibe, kind of. That's made me think of, you know, like where the 007 films open up. Maybe that's what we're trying to go for. I don't know. I really enjoy that end title song that Colleen Champ sings. You know, it's a very beautiful song. You know, it's pay homage to Bruce, and they show clips of all of Bruce's Hong Kong films. No footage from Enter the Dragon, unfortunately, because it's Warner Brothers. I win the bet. So they show footage of Fist of Fury, Chinese Connection, Return of the Dragon, pretty much, you know. And all in all, a watchable film to me, watchable film. If I have to rate this film, in my humble opinion, my rating, I would give it 6.5 out of 10 for what it is. I mean, it's not a movie that makes you throw the disc on the floor and roll it away, nothing like that. Or go break it. No, not that. No, I did that to the bullshit, depressing documentary that came with the Master Collection set, which I just got rid of. Like, this wasn't for me and stuff. And it's like that. But 6.5 out of 10 is the rating for the film. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay tuned when I give my final thoughts on the man, the myth, the legend, and about how in the USA, many fans of Bruce Lee, like myself, we got the shaft. And I'll explain that more in the next video. I'll touch on the Bruceploitation films, why I'm not fond of those films at all. Man, I know somebody will say, but you could deal with this, but you can't deal with the Bruce. I'll tap into it in the next video, don't worry. But, you know, everybody's entitled to their opinion, granted. It's okay. But, I guess I'm going to go drink my water, which I got over here. So, thank you all for tuning in. I know it's Friday night when I record this. Don't worry. Next Friday, Friday Night 80s, we back. Don't worry about it. And plus, I got some other stuff I'm going to line up to see if I can talk about. Maybe with a vlog. Who knows? So 6.5 out of 10 is the rating for the film. And I don't know how this view came out. I mean, it's a 15-minute review for a much hated film, you know, who uses the name of Bruce Lee in the title of a movie and stuff. But I understand that, like I said in this video, and I can watch the film for what it is. Maybe it is a guilty pleasure, granted, but there are problems with the film I have, though. That's why it doesn't get the higher mark like the other Bruce Lee movies I talked about get. But it's there, you know. But thank you all for tuning in, and stay tuned for Bruce Lee, my final thoughts on the man, and plus situation on the DVDs and the Bruceploitation stuff I'll touch on in that one video. Okay? And also the thing about the whole rumors of Bruce Lee's passing. Was it mysticism? Was it gangsters that killed him? Was it some other stuff? Or was it this? Was it that? Was Bruce Lee frozen and he's gonna be thawed out, you know, when the economy gets better? You know, I'm gonna touch on all that stuff. I know, I'm gonna touch on all that stuff in the next video, so you guys looking forward to that one, alright? So thank you all for tuning in. Once again, the rating for this film, to me, just me, 6.5 out of 10. That's me, just me. I know others will put it lower. That's fine. You're all entitled to your opinion. It's great, no problem. But once again, you all take it easy. Have a good night, and thank you all for tuning in.